I now ask Councilman Dunn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Councilman Dunn. Because of the governor's executive orders and a COVID-19 pandemic, today's public hearing will allow for both in-person participation and telephonic participation using the GoToWebinar. The instructions participating using the GoToWebinar and all relevant documents are, of course, available on the town's website. When the clerk calls a public hearing, first, those people here at Town Hall will have the chance to speak. Then participants on the GoToWebinar will have a chance to speak. All participants on the GoToWebinar must pay attention as your case is called by our town clerk. When the public hearing is called and wish you speak, you must click on the Raise Your Hand button on the GoToWebinar. If you do not click the Raise Your Hand button, you will not be called. All participants in the GoToWebinar will be muted until the moderator calls your name to speak. You must pay attention for your name and begin speaking when your name is called, or the moderator will go on to the next person, and the moderator will not recall anyone's name, so please pay attention. If you are participating in the GoToWebinar and watching in the live stream, then we ask you to please mute the live stream when it's your turn to speak, or we will not be able to understand you. Each participant will be given one chance to speak for up to 3 minutes. When you are done speaking or when your time is up, the moderator will again mute you in the GoToWebinar. At the end of the public hearing portion of the meeting, the GoToWebinar will be turned off, and I encourage all those who were using the GoToWebinar to continue listening and watching the meeting at the town's live stream on the website. Please note that anyone using profanity or straying off topic will be muted. Madam Clerk, please call items 6 and 44.
Number 6 on the public hearings is a proposed local law entitled Wireless Communications Facilities to amend Chapter 142 and add a new Article 3 thereof to establish an administrative process for authorizing owners of fiber optic cable to install and maintain it in and along town roads and right-of-ways, and the payment of fair market value to the town of Hempstead for such authorization of the code of the town of Hempstead. And item number 44 on the administrative calendar is the resolution calling the public hearing on April 14th to discuss this amendment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion to adjourn without a future date until further notice, items 6 and 44?
So moved, Mr. Supervisor.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll call? Oh, I'm sorry. Please call the first public hearing.
Yes, we have a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in East Atlantic Beach.
First, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, is there anybody here at Town Hall that wishes to be heard on item number 1? Okay, I don't have any sign-ins there. And now we'll go to the GoToWebinar portion of the meeting. Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, since there are no more speakers, may I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in East Meadow.
First, does any board member wish to be heard on this item? Okay, if not, is there anyone here at Town Hall that wishes to be heard on this item? I don't have any slips. With that, now we'll go to the GoToWebinar portion of the meeting. Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, will please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in East Atlantic Beach, Elmont, Franklin Square, and Woodmere.
First, does any board member wish to be heard on this item? Okay, secondly, let me see if we have anybody that's checked in to speak on this item, which I do not. We will now ask you to raise your hand on the GoToWebinar portion of the program here today. And Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, may I please have a motion?
Mr. Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Second the motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law in relation to prohibition of retail sales of vaping or e-cigarette products within 1,000 linear feet of any school, park, or playground.
Okay, first, does any board member wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I do have a couple of residents who wish to be heard on this item. I'm going to start with Tiffany Capers. Good morning, Ms. Capers. If you would please give your name and address for the record.
Good morning. Tiffany Capers, 32 Fowling Court. I've spoken on this before. You all know me and how deep of a concern this is to me. I have nothing against businesses, and I want my community to flourish. But it is not okay for these businesses to set up so closely to places we know children congregate. It's polluting our neighborhoods and enticing our children. It's trading health for wealth. Nicotine harms the young brain, and when introduced early, it increases the risk of future addiction. That is not the path we want to pave for the youth. Right now, the entire world is fighting COVID, and studies have shown that e-cigarette users are 5 times more likely to contract COVID than a tobacco user. Let that sink in for a minute. 5 times more likely. So forget about your mask and your 6 feet difference. The very thing that we spent the last year fighting to decrease is what these products increase. Again, trading health for wealth. So today I ask you all to take a stand with me and to say to them, not on our block and not on our watch. And please support this resolution for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Capers, and thank you for your advocacy during this. You've hit it before that, you know, before I even assumed this mantle, you came over to the tax office. We had a great talk, and you've been, you know, passionate about it, and we're delighted to be where we are right now. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and really the courage to care for our kids.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, I have a slip from a Felix Percacci. Good morning. If you give your name and address for the record, please.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. This law is not necessary since New York state law prohibits the sale of vaping and e-cigarette products to persons under 21 years of age, and New York state law already prohibits advertisements related to tobacco, vaping products, electronic cigarettes, and paraphernalia within 1,500 feet of a school. I am unclear as to how the prohibition of the sale of these products less than 1,000 feet from a school or playground will have any effect on children who are not legally allowed to purchase vape or e-cigarette products anyway. It is also important to note that the town already prohibits smoking of any type within its parks. From firsthand experience, many times, I can tell you that these laws will have no effect and have no effect on underage use of vape, e-cigarettes, and tobacco products. The response from Nassau County police officers on several occasions when minors are caught using marijuana, vape, or anything else in town parks, they are simply escorted out of the park. Substance abuse is a complex subject, and passing this type of law will do nothing to achieve the desired result. All this legislation will do is provide an advantage to those businesses that are not in this zone, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I do not have any other slips on item number 4. With that, now we will go to the go-to meeting webinar portion of it.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Move that the public hearing be closed and we pass the public law. Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
I'm delighted to vote yes and adopt this. And again, I do want to thank all of the advocacy of parents, and in particular, Tiffany, you know, you're really, you know, have been leading the charge on this. I think it's great. And when we did the announcement next to the schools where these shops were, it was clearly evident that, you know, these are targeted. So I'm proud to vote yes, and thank you.
Councilman Blakeman.
Yeah, Tiffany, I'd also like to thank you for your advocacy on this very important issue to protect our children. And I'd also like to thank Councilman Dennis Dunn, who was the leader on this a number of years ago and was ahead of the curve. It's a good law, Dennis. I vote aye.
Councilman Carini.
I'd proudly vote yes for this law. It's needed. Vaping is an issue with our youth throughout this country. I'm glad to stand with Supervisor Clavin and the rest of the board. I vote yea.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Proud to vote aye, and I commend the leadership of Supervisor Clavin and Tiffany Capers. Thank you.
Councilman Dunn.
Yes, I'd like to thank Charles Colbert for keeping his pedal to the metal on this and making sure this happened, and Supervisor Clavin for allowing us to make this happen today. I vote aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
I certainly vote aye. I know where some people live. They don't live with places where I see the kids who are actually going into some of these stores purchasing it. So I know how important it is to keep it out of the hands of kids. Some people live in different areas. I guess it's okay where you are, but not okay by me. So I'm very, very pleased and certainly will definitely support you, all of us, and it is yes.
Councilman Muscarella.
Tiffany, absolutely.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
All right, we have items 5A and 5. We'll call them together.
Please.
Okay. We have a resolution adopting a sequa-negative declaration and determination of non-significance in connection with the proposed amendment of Section 302 of the Article 31 of the Building Zone Ordinance of the Town of Hempstead to create a new subsection 302.u thereof in relation to restricting the location of tobacco business to the light manufacturing and industrial districts of the Town of Hempstead, and also no nearer to any school, park, or playground than 1,000 linear feet. Item number 5 is a proposed amendment of Section 302 of Article 31 of the Building Zone Ordinance of the Town of Hempstead, insofar as to create a new Section 302.u thereof in relation to restricting the location of tobacco businesses to the light manufacturing and industrial districts of the Town of Hempstead, and also no nearer to any school, park, or playground than 1,000 linear feet.
Okay, first, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do have one slip in on this from the public here today. That's Felix Procacci. Morning, if you'd please give your name and address.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. First of all, the town does not have the authority to prohibit the sale of legal products using zoning law, zoning code. It's just not done. And maybe at the end of my statement, maybe Charles Colvin, who wrote this, can explain what provision of New York State zoning law gives the town this right, because I've read the entire thing and it doesn't exist. The health and safety provisions of New York State's town zoning law can only refers to the health and safety of the zoned property and adjacent properties. It doesn't refer to health and safety of things that happen somewhere else, a mile away or wherever. Limiting the sale of these products to light manufacturing and industrial districts, if applied, will essentially put all tobacco businesses out of business in the town of Hempstead, creating more empty storefronts. All this will do is force people to obtain these products online or from an area where the purchase of this is legal, and will also create a black market for these products in which Nassau County, the town of Hempstead, will not collect any sales tax revenue. So, I mean, just since this has been researched thoroughly, I've read the preamble to this, that we spent a year and a half researching it. Can anyone tell me where in New York State zoning law it allows a town to restrict the sale of a particular product that's legal?
Felix, yeah, if you go back over 20 years ago, a lot of the arguments that you're making were made in the county legislature against the regulation of smoking in restaurants, in bowling alleys, and other places. And basically, it was the counties around the state that took the lead and were ahead of the curve, and the state had to catch up. And the state then realized that the will of the people was that they wanted to extinguish smoking in enclosed places of tobacco products. This reminds me very much of what happened a few years ago. We're taking the lead. This is America's largest township. It's the largest township in the state. If we were called a city rather than a town, we'd be the second largest city in the state next to New York City. We're taking a lead here. We're making a statement, and hopefully the state will follow our lead. So that's the purpose of this legislation.
And I understand the purpose of the legislation. What I'm saying, and you didn't answer the question anyway, is New York State zoning law. The town, they have New York State town zoning law, New York State village zoning law, New York State city zoning law, which provides it gives permission for towns, villages, cities to do certain types of zoning.
Yes.
Eliminating legal products is not part of that. Is that
big
part of that?
tobacco companies came into the county over 20 years ago, made the same arguments. It went for litigation, and before the matter could be adjudicated, the state passed the same regulation that the counties around the state wanted. So we're not afraid if the vape people want to sue us, that's fine. But no matter what the outcome of the litigation is, as a public policy measure, the supervisor and the members of the town board feel that this is necessary to do.
But New York State can do what you're doing here, but you cannot, and you're reaffirming this by not answering the question.
Hold on. Mr.
You cannot do this.
Mr. Cacci, hold on first.
Sure.
Relax, chill. Mr. Town Attorney?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. Let me just respond to Mr. Procacci's statement by saying that in terms of our zoning powers, we do have the right to determine a particular district and what it shall encompass and what industries are allowed to practice there. This particular proposal is on the regulation of the existence of the smoke shops within that light industrial area, and that is within our power. Beyond that, I don't believe it's appropriate to comment any further, any more than I would want to litigate in public over an issue of this nature. I hope that answers your question.
Again,
Thank you.
But I hope that answers your question.
No. Once again, it's a very simple question. I'm not sure why it takes an hour and a half to do this. It's one thing. The New York State town zoning law allows the town to do certain things in zoning. It does not permit you to choose which legal products a business can sell. And that's the bottom line. And being that the lawyer and the councilman and nobody else could explain it, saying we're going to do something illegal. You want to do this, you get the state to
Felix, I never said that. I stand by what our town attorney said. And please don't put words in my mouth. I never said that. I'm very confident in the law that we passed, and we did so based on the advice of our town attorney, and we're confident that we're on firm legal ground. So please don't say that I said that, because I did not say that.
The town attorney did not answer the question. You didn't answer the question, and I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Procacci, and your advocacy for the vaping shops. Next, I do not have another slip on this. Dominic, anybody else? Then we'll go to the go-to-webinar portion of... Oh, you didn't sign in there. I'm sorry. Name and address for the record?
Diane Madden, Hempstead.
What street in Hempstead?
Hempstead.
Hempstead
I don't
Street.
ask you your personal address.
Okay.
In any case, I think it is disingenuous to leave Erin Sweeney out of this equation. I am not saying I support it one way or the other, but this was her baby. Secondly, to attack Felix like that, Supervisor, what he's advocating for is not vape shops. He's advocating for truth and for what the board is really allowed and not allowed to do legally, and for transparency. So please don't twist that into he's advocating for vape shops. I didn't hear him say that once. Have a nice day.
Okay. Dominic, any other slips or anybody wants to speak here? Okay, now we'll go to the go-to-webinar portion of the meeting.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, may I please have a motion then?
Supervisor, I just note that the secret neg deck should be voted upon first.
Okay.
5A. Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Proudly vote aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Yes.
So item 5A has been passed.
Now, item 5, as proposed amendment, move that we pass that.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Great. Thank you again, Ms. Capers, by the way. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the next item?
Yes, we have a public application of This is the Way We Learn and Grow Child Care Incorporated, DBA Learn and Grow, to rezone from Levittown Planned Residence District to business in Levittown.
Good morning. If you would please give your name and address for the record, though, I do recognize that it is Mr. Wayne Edwards in the back.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. For the record, my name is Wayne Edwards, Sawn Ward, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. I'm the attorney for the applicant. This is the way we learn and grow child care. Doing business is Learn and Grow, which is a child care facility located in Levittown. We're here today to request that the property in which the facility is located be rezoned from LPRD to a business zone. It's known as Section 51, Block 250, Lot 41 on the land and tax map of Nassau County, and it's known as 566 Wantaw Avenue. The property has a frontage on Wantaw Avenue of 98.49 feet and an area of 18,101 square feet. It is improved with a two-story frame dwelling, which was constructed, according to the assessor's office, approximately in the 1870s. It was part of a farm. It was a farmhouse, and the area around it was farmland. As the board is aware, and all of us are aware, back in the day, that property and the area around it was rezoned to the historic Levittown district, or the LPRD district. The applicants currently use the premises as a child care facility, which is licensed under the state of New York, which is limited by New York state regulations to 12 children. Basically, it's a home use. They would like to expand it, and as under the LPR district, it would be considered a business, which would require for their use to obtain a use variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals of this town, which is basically a difficult matter to prove lawfully. So it was decided to apply to this board for the rezoning. It's operated by Josephine Giordina and Antoinette McGalley, early childhood educators with over 25 years experience. I have a packet of material for each board member. I'd like to
ask somebody to take that from you. Appreciate that.
Which basically describes their operation. 90% of the children who attend this facility come from the Levittown, North Wantaw, Seaford area. Plus, the operators, my clients, live in the area as well. In the packet is information about Learn and Grow. It includes the New York State license to operate the child care, the teaching certifications for the two owners, their mission statement, and reviews from parents. As you can see, the reviews are spectacular. What we want to do is basically have between 38 and 40 children. In terms of our application, there are limits pursuant to town code in terms of occupancy, but more importantly, New York State sets a very stringent code requirements in terms of how many children can occupy the premises. It's based on their measurements of one child per 35 square feet of usable space. There will be 3 classrooms there. Currently, there are 2. The application, and we've submitted a floor plan, which you have in your packets, is basically to build out the second story of the facility to make a third classroom. In addition to the square footage limitation, there are limitations as to how many teachers have to be there for each children. Each age group is different. So in terms of the children they take care of, for 18 months to 36 months, they have to have one teacher for each 5 children. So basically, their plan is to have open space for 10 of these children. If they have one more child, if they have 11 children in that age group, they have to have 3 teachers. So in terms of structuring their business plan, that would be the limitation on those amount of children. The next age group is basically from 37 months to 48 months. It requires one teacher for each 6 children. And again, the same application. If they have 13 children, they have to have 3 teachers. And then for the older age group from 37 months to 5 years, it's basically one teacher for every 7 children. So if everything worked perfectly, they would have 38 children. We figured between 38 and 40, so sometimes they don't fill a class up to 10 children. It may go to an older class. In addition, it's not all the children aren't there 5 days a week. Some come 2, some 3 days, and some come 5 days. So there might be some open space. So these are the maximum number of children that would be there, basically between 38 and 40. The larger facility will operate exactly as the existing facility operates. Kids are dropped off from 7:30 a.m. to 9 o'clock a.m. and picked up from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. As you will note on the site plan that we submitted, we are going to open up another curb cut and create a driveway so that the parents can come drop off the children. In addition, the parking lot will be extended to the west, and so there'll be over 10 parking spots. A ramp will be put in for ADA compliance. A stairway will be put in from the second floor for emergency egress. In addition, even though it's not shown on the site plan, a flagpole will be installed on the landscaped area next to the front of the building. It'll be around 15 feet. At the rear of the property, there are houses. There's already a very nice, I went there yesterday, chain link fence with privacy slats, and on the other side of that fence, the homeowner put in white vinyl fencing. There will also be added to that a 6-foot evergreens going across the entire rear property line. The property to the north on either side of it are owned by the town of Hempstead. In terms of the way the children are taken in and out of the property, dropped off and picked up, those that are between 18 and 36 months, the parents come in, they pull into a parking spot, and they bring the child in. The older children are dropped off. The car pulls up in front. The teacher comes out and takes the child out of the car. The facility operates Monday through Friday. It is closed on federal holidays. It runs 51 weeks a year. There's only 1 week at the end of August where it's closed to give my clients 1 week of vacation a year. As part of being part of the community, my clients are members of the Chamber of Commerce. They are part of the Child Care Council of Nassau County. I have some information in the packet regarding that. They have integrated themselves into the community. They've done a fundraiser with St. Bernard's. There's a letter from St. Bernard's thanking them, and you have copies of those in the file. They currently have a waiting list keep a waiting list of over 20 children ready to go and attend the school. As we're all aware, affordable daycare is very important, not only for parents and not only for children, but for the economics of this county. No longer can we have a single parent stay at home and take care of children. It usually requires 2 incomes to be able to afford to live in New York State and then also in this county. Sorry. Regarding the change of zone, this is not unusual in this area of Wantaw. The area to the south has a gasoline station and a small shopping center that was rezoned in 1951. Diagonally across the street is the O'Shea Funeral Home. That was rezoned in 1976. And a few years ago, property located south of Red Maple, which is on the east side of Wantor Avenue, was rezoned by this town board for a similar use, childcare use. It's on a bigger lot, a 28,000 square foot lot. In that case, the house that was built in the 1890s, which was also a farmhouse, was demolished. It's a much bigger facility that they constructed, I understand it, just opening up this week, and it holds 110 children, whereas ours is going to be between 38 and 40 and use the existing structure. We don't think that this use on Wantor Avenue has any, the rezoning will have any impact on the residential areas on this, to the east of us or north of us. North of us and surrounding us basically is land that is parkland owned by the town of Hempstead. I know that one of the principal concerns of this board is safety of the children being dropped off and picked up and its impact on traffic. We've retained the services of Wayne Muller, who is a traffic engineer who has appeared before this board and the Board of Zoning Appeals in the town of Hempstead on many occasions, and at this time I'd like to call upon him to testify.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Wayne Muller. I'm with the firm of Robinson and Muller Engineering. Our offices are at 50 Elm Street, Huntington, New York. For the record, I'd like to submit copies of an analysis that we prepared. I have multiple copies for the board.
Okay. Somebody just grab those from him. Pass them up. Thanks.
No, your staff said it didn't.
Again, I'd like to briefly summarize the results of my analysis. A lot of it that's contained in my report has been covered by Mr. Edwards, so I'd just like to highlight the key facts. As indicated on the plans prepared for the project and as described by Mr. Edwards, the property is located on the west side of Wantor Avenue. Access to the property will be provided via 2 curb cuts. They'll be configured for right-turn vehicles entering and right-turn vehicles exiting only. As indicated on the plans and in accordance with the Town of Hempstead zoning ordinance, the project that's before the board today will fully conform to the parking requirements of the Town of Hempstead. 9 spaces are required and 11 spaces are provided. As indicated on the plan, there is almost a circular flow of traffic along the property, allowing for the queuing of vehicles internally on the property for the drop-off and pickup of the students. As indicated in my report, we observed the activity at the existing facility and expanded the activity that we saw to account for the increase in the student population of the facility. And what we found was that the increase in the activity generated by the increase in the student population will not have a significant impact on traffic conditions, and it will represent a less than 2% increase in traffic on Wantor Avenue. We believe that the plan has been laid out in a safe and efficient manner, and we believe that due to the configuration of the access on Wantor Avenue, there will be no impacts to traffic safety within this area. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any member of the board? Dennis?
Yeah, the Story Lane is the crossroad, right?
Excuse me, yes.
So the pulling in off of Wantor Avenue and leaving on Story Lane, is that considered?
Just let me grab the aerial photograph. Well, the access to the facility is fully on Wantor Avenue. The only individuals that would, in my opinion, turn down Stony Lane would be those people who live in that neighborhood to the west of the facility that would maybe dropping off there or picking up their children and then returning home. So the access will be fully on Wantor Avenue. We will not have any access to the residential neighborhoods to the south and to the west.
That's before the traffic lights, so there should be no problem, correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Any other board member have any questions? Okay, if not, Mr. Edwards?
Basically, I'll reserve any further comments in case we have any comments online or in the audience, but my clients have built up, a successful business. It's been since 2017. They've served the community. They've served the parents who sign up with them and trust their children to them. And to me, having a grandchild in nursery school, the nursery school experience is very important, and our clients have hit a home run with this.
Just a quick question. The facility opens at 9 o'clock?
No, it opens at 7:30.
Now, you can drop off your child. Listen, I did this forever, okay? So my wife and I work. We want to drop off our son at 8:30. We can drop him off at that time, or at 7:30. Is there a set hours they have to be there, or does that have the flexibility they can drop off at various hours?
They have between 7:30 and 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's great.
That's a window of opportunity, and basically you're not having all 38 kids, if there were 38 kids there, coming in at one time.
Yeah.
Some parents go to work early, some go to late, some, it goes.
Then on the flip side too, when it's pickup time, is it a window, or is it just any time in the afternoon that you want to pick up? You tell me.
It's the same window from 4:30 to 4 o'clock to 5:30.
Okay.
So, for example, if an educator, elementary school teacher or a high school teacher is picking up their child after they get out of school, if they don't have anything after school, they can come pick it up or come at a later date. No child is left there at 5:30. They're still there with them.
And here's the last one for you, and I'm just curious for myself. How many times do they have a family member that, maybe they have 2 kids in the program?
I have.
Couple, you ever have instance like, maybe two kids going at the same time?
Answer through me. This way you don't have to be
Okay.
This time they only have one family that has 2 kids.
2 kids. Okay. All right. That's it. I have a number of slips, so I'd ask you to kind of stand down. We'll go through any of the others, and you can answer any questions. I appreciate that. First, I'm going to start with Nairee Walker. And any of our speakers, I just remind you, they're going to wipe down the mic every single time after, if you just give it a minute there. If you could just give your name and address for the record.
Hi, good morning. Nairee Walker, 213 Springtime Lane, Levittown.
Hi.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to come in person or online to be able to speak and voice our concerns. My house is the property that's directly behind the daycare center right now. I clearly, with all of the plans that have been going in regards to, the driveways being built and, permissions and licensing that's needed, this is something that's been planned for a number of months now, maybe even longer. I heard about this for the first time just a couple of days ago. I was taken back because my property is the one that's most impacted. I'm directly behind their property. I have a 34 square foot house. The lot size is pretty much the same lot size, if not a little bit bigger, than where the Play and Grow Center currently has their business in. I never received any notice in regards to this. So and considering that I'm the one that's mostly impacted, that really concerned me and didn't sit well with me at all. My main concern, actually I have 2 concerns that I want to talk about. The first one is really quality of life. I know that may sound a little bit cliche, but myself and my family spend a lot of time in the backyard and enjoying our property. Right now, I believe they mentioned that they only have 12 children at this time, which to me honestly is questionable because I have seen that there have been more than 12 kids, but we'll put that aside. Them going from 12 kids to 42 children, which is, I believe that's what's written on the plan as far as 42 max kids, that will obviously increase the amount of noise. Right now, 12 kids really doesn't bother us. They laugh, they giggle outside. Many times I'm outside in the backyard gardening or something and they're waving hello because they have visibility into my yard right now. And it's quite playful. I don't mind that. But once you bring that from 12 kids to 40 kids, that is a huge difference. That will increase the amount of noise of the times that they're playing there outside throughout the day. or if we'll even hear the voices while they're inside. Also, toys and debris and things that are thrown over my yard. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, there was a ball that was thrown over. And again, from 12 kids to 40-something kids, that's a concern because not only will the noise increase, but also the amount of toys and debris and things of that nature that I'll either have to throw back or if not, it's just a nuisance to see that on my property. I'm glad that, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, the gentleman in the front mentioned in regards to the amount of traffic. Right now, their main entrance is on Wanta Avenue, but them coming down on Stroney Lane, obviously, that's going to increase the amount of traffic that's going down our block. There are a number of kids that are that live in our residential area. So having the additional amount of traffic obviously will impact us to a certain degree.
Ms. Walker, just a curiosity, how did you find out about the meeting a couple of days ago?
Thank you for asking. It was actually my next door neighbor who mentioned it to me because she heard it from the neighbor across the street who was the only one that had received a notice.
Okay, all right.
So the neighbor next door to me and the one next door to her didn't receive any notification.
And which house number are you?
I'm 213 Springtime Lane.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
right
no, I'm
behind.
just knocking on that. All right, we have a 3-minute limit on comments here, but I am going to ask Mr. Edwards to, if you could follow up, and maybe get in contact with this resident to have any further discussion about it. I think it's important that there be some, lines of communications.
The last thing, if I can mention, and just one more minute, and it's the most important one. It's
we have
the resale value of my property. I right now spend almost $24,000 in taxes a year.
Yeah.
And for who's going to want to buy my property if at one point
I understand. In addition, like I said, this is just a hearing here today, so we're listening to all the residents, and I get it. In addition, that's Councilman Dunn right there. That's your representative, and you could follow up with him and anything else in an email, and we'll include that in the record as well. Okay.
I appreciate that. It just shows that there's little regard to the neighborhood because, they're planning all of this for months, but none of the neighbors were.
Like I said, that's why I wanted to ask you where you got the information, because we want to make sure you're informed. That's all. Okay? Thank you very much. I also have a Josephine Giardina. What? Okay. Antoinette, did you want to speak? Okay. Well, they put down they speak. Come on. I don't have any other slips on item number 7. Now we will go to the go-to webinar portion of the meeting. Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, the first participant is Rosemary Cromie. Rosemary Cromie, please go ahead and make your comments for us.
Good morning, Ms. Cronin. If you give your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good morning. My name is Rosemary Cromie, and I live on Springtime Lane, number 209, next door to number 213, directly behind the daycare center. I'm totally against rezoning the property for several reasons. When I purchased my home in 2000, there was only one residential house behind me. The rest of the open land belonged to the town, and I was assured that this land would never be sold. I have put a lot of money into my home by adding a dormer, which should increase the value of my property. If the property is rezoned for business or commercial, it opens the door to having all adjacent property rezoned as commercial as well. I do not want my home backed up to a commercial or business property. Doing so will affect my property value in the future. I ask you, what happens when they sell their business in the future? Will the property be sold to either a Dunkin' Donuts or a McDonald's? I also have concerns with extending the parking spaces associated with the daycare center. At the moment, there's not enough parking spaces for the number of children currently registered. Not only are cars parked in their driveway, but there are also cars parked on the grassy areas adjacent to the property. If they add in 30 new students, that small building will house about 40 to 42 children. There will never be enough parking available for all those cars. I am also very concerned that the noise level from all those children playing outside will affect my quality of life. For a good portion of the year, I enjoy spending time in my yard. I can't even imagine what listening to 42 screaming children all day long will do to my peace and quiet that I've become accustomed to. For all these reasons, I am totally against allowing for the rezoning of this property, and I sincerely hope that you will take all of these points into consideration and vote against the proposal for change in status. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time, Ms. Cronin. Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, the next participant is John Rodriguez. John Rodriguez, please go ahead with your comment.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you give your name and address for the record first. Thank you.
John, you're muted on your side. Please unmute yourself and then make your comments for us.
Am I unmuted now?
You can hear you now. If you give your name and address for the record, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
I'm not used to computers. My name is John, last name is Rodriguez. I live at 212 Springtime in Levittown. My main concern is, besides the fact that there's going to be 40-something kids and more vehicles going in and out of there, they're on Wantaw Avenue. I mean, I heard the traffic guy say he did observations. He happened to notice the fact that a lot of times Wantaw Avenue is like a bit of a raceway. They race down to the southern state all the time. What happens now, you have more traffic going in and out. You know what I mean? It's going to be a disaster at one point or the other. So, yeah, I'm not really crazy about them expanding the number of children going into there. Even though my house is across the street from Nyrese, I'll still be affected one way or the other because the amount of traffic that come down Stony or on one side itself. So I'm not particularly happy with the idea. I think it should be reconsidered. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I appreciate you taking the time joining us via the GoToWebinar today and your comments as well.
Supervisor, no other participant has clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, as I don't have anybody else on the GoToWebinar, everyone has spoken here that wanted to speak on it. Mr. Edwards, did you want to do a last-minute statement here?
Yes, please.
Oh, and hold on, Dennis Dunn?
Before you make your last-minute statement, I'd like to ask that you meet with these residents that are there. Apparently you haven't. I would think that possibly put some kind of buffer between the school and the yards, whether it be beautiful plantings, trees, the screening, something where, you know, all going in their yard. That shouldn't be happening. You should have some kind of cordoned off area for your school, like the regular schools do. They have chain link fences. They put the green screen on it, and then they put bushes up there, hedges or whatever, to absorb some of the noise. But again, the residents have to. I heard you say 9 to 5 is when the real time of the school is, right?
Correct.
7:30 to 5.
But first of all, Josephine, my client would like to speak. Yes, my client would like to speak. But before he speaks, we do have on the plan an evergreen buffer putting in, and there's already a very nice chain link fence that goes behind it with privacy slats that's 6 feet high.
Okay, so to protect their privacy, but where the kids can't see through and wave to them while they're out in the backyard sunbathing or barbecuing or whatever, you got to be neighborhood friendly.
I think that's the only area I could ever see a child being able to see over the fence is that if you go visit Councilman Dunn, and we invite you to come visit, my clients put a mound with a slide built in and some other toys put in, and I think that raises the children up to a point where they can see over the fence. What we'll do is when we redo the backyard, the area, play area, we'll lower that mound so that no child can look over that. I think that's...
Hold on, I was going to say, Ms. Walker, hold on. I was going to say, I think part of this has to include talking to the neighbors, because as soon as, I'm just saying to you, just, Ms. Walker, I saw her, as soon as you made a comment, she turned, she was ready to go, and that's what I'm saying, you know, regardless, today after, I really think there has to be a communication with the neighbors on a lot of this.
Of course, but I just want to answer...
They say the parking isn't enough. Well, you said that you're adding parking to the area. Yes. So you're going to have to meet with them and show them and make them satisfied. And I'm glad that you're there.
I will be glad to do that. And regarding one other point, and my client wants to speak also because she's on it, but before she does, One of the neighbors talked about a Dunkin' Donuts going in there if by chance this business would go. What we're willing to covenant is that no food use pursuant to the business zone of the town of Hempstead could be ever put into this thing. We'd keep it professional offices or offices and things like that if this building would ever go out. Or anything would have to come back to this, hopefully to the Board of Zoning Appeals for some sort of special use permit. So we're going to write up covenants regarding that.
Mr. Edwards, in the event that were not used for the purposes that you're proposing, would you support the town rezoning and returning it to its current limited use for residential?
Well, what I would rather do, is basically indicate that if we had to change the use and it was into a use in the business zone, and we'll write up the covenant restriction for you, you know, if I can't see any problem if a real estate office went into this building. You know, looking at the future, I think my clients are going to be there successful. You know, adding that expense, you know, they're going through an extreme expense, even though they're keeping the existing building, that it be used for something else. But I would be willing to basically indicate that no food use, Dunkin' Donuts, or any of the food uses, fast food uses, or any slow food uses, it's not going to become a restaurant. You know, it could become a real estate office or something like that. I can't foresee anything else going in there.
All right. In other words, you're willing to put in restrictions and covenants, yes. But you wouldn't necessarily support us rezoning it, returning it to its current state in the event that your proposal were not the only one that tried to come in.
I don't think that really works. I think the question comes down is that if we change the use, right? And I think this, the way I would look at it if I was a board member, is that you would want to be able to review what the use was. So my thought process is basically to restrict some uses, and if by chance we change the use, that we have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and treat it as a special use permit. But the uses that would be the most, the ones that would be really shouldn't be used for food use or something like that. We don't want a Dunkin' Donuts there. My clients don't want a Dunkin' Donuts there, or anything else like that, or a Taco Bell or something like that. But if it's going to be an office use, we go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and say, listen, we have these restrictions from the town board. We'd like to use it. We'd like to change over to a special use, to have a special use permit hearing, and say this is going to be an office use. It's going to be certain times a year, and this way the Board of Zoning Appeals can put reasonable restrictions on it in terms of the proposed use.
Okay.
To meet with the...
Of course.
209, 212, 238, Springtime Lane. You meet with them.
Of course I will.
Walk the area with them. Become friends. Because one, we need daycare centers. We really do. Your major case, everybody here knows that kids need to be taken care of so mom and dad can go to work. That's so needed, and it's a beautiful spot to do it in. I'd like to see it done, but I really am concerned about, I grew up in Levittown. My whole life, I was 21 days old when I moved to Levittown. 70 years I've been in this community, and we demand our privacy. You know, we go in the backyard and have fun with our kids. You know, the gardens you put there, you don't want things flying into it. So putting up some kind of buffer is necessary. Talk to them, see what kind would be acceptable, maybe you know, but meet with them. Show them about the parking, that the problem with the parking isn't going to be that big. I really would prefer that you do that before we pass this. I'm going to make a motion that we reserve the decision until you meet with them and talk to me and the supervisor, so we're comfortable with what's going to happen there. Because we really want to see this happen, but it's got to be done right.
Okay.
Not the expense of the homeowners.
Second.
Oh, before you go second.
Hold on, before we make a motion, I know that you did want to have your client
I would like
speak.
just to address the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Capers, this is your chance.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say...
If you could name your name and address for the record,
Josephine
please.
Jardina, 3433 Loughbury Avenue in Wantaw. I just wanted to say, only because it affects my license, we never have over 12 children there. That is what we are allowed to have by New York State law. We never have one child over that. You can call my licensor. We've never been cited for that, and we would never be cited for that. Also, just two quick things.
Please, I understand. we have the procedures to go here, so.
Just two quick things regarding the noise. When we go, if you allow, if we go from group family daycare to regular daycare, New York State does not allow me to mix the children, especially age groups, so there probably would never be more than 12 to 14 children in the play yard at one point, because, for instance, we're not allowed to mix, we are now because we're group family daycare, but if we're regular daycare, we're not allowed to mix 18 to 36 in the play yard with the older kids, so they couldn't be put together. So I just wanted to say, it's not like there's going to be 40 kids in the yard together. There wouldn't be, because New York State doesn't allow that. And also, there is no cut through to, we're not proposing a cut through to Stony Lane. Everything's going to be on Wantor Avenue, so if people turn, that's because they're on Wantor Avenue. So my main concern was that it be known that I do not break the regulations, and there's never more than 12 children. Thank you.
And be present when they do meet with the neighbors, so you can.
Yes, of course, of
know
course.
what their concerns are more, it's better when you're face to face.
Of course.
And then you'll be able to address it and come to a compromise of whatever.
Of course.
And then come back to me and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any other slips on this. May I have a motion?
I move that we close the public hearing and
Decision.
decision.
Second?
Second.
Supervisor Clavin?
Vote aye and reserving decision.
Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito?
Anthony?
Anthony, where are you?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye. Mr. As you walk out, if you could get the neighbors' information to contact them, Ms. Walker, Ms. Cronin, Mr. Rodriguez appeared on the go-to webinar, but I have a feeling Ms. Walker could be instrumental on getting some of the neighbors' information to sit down. So thank you very much.
The people that spoke will meet with Doreen, the young lady with the red jacket here, if you go in a hall and take their name, address, and phone number, so we can stay in contact with you. If you have concerns, more concerns than this or whatever, get in touch with us.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thanks, Doreen.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the application of Bola EM Realty LLC for approval to operate an accessory drive-through at the existing convenience store and gasoline station in West Hempstead.
Morning, if you could name and address for the record, please.
Of course, Mr. Supervisor. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see everybody here and healthy. It's also nice to be doing a hearing in person as opposed to Zoom. Zoom may be more convenient, but I'd still rather do these in person. For the applicant, Bola, David Altman from the Law Office of Brown, Altman, DeLeo, 538 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 301W, Melville, New York.
Morning, Mr. Altman.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor. Before I start my presentation, and I will keep it brief because I know this board visited with this site not too long ago when we got the approvals to construct it, I'm just going to submit into the record additional copies of certified return receipt cards that came in subsequent to our submission a few weeks ago. So if I could hand those in.
All right, somebody grab them from Mr. Altman. Thank you.
So I believe, Mr. Supervisor, that we had provided oh, there it is, up on the digital display board. So, yep, what you're looking at right now is an aerial photograph of the existing site, which is known as 85-101 Hempstead Turnpike over in West Hempstead, New York. It bears Nassau County Tax Map Number Section 35, Block 365, Lots 205 and 206. And it recently received a GSS overlay approval along with site plan approval, variances, tank installation approvals from this board not so long ago, and I will give you the Town Board resolutions. That would be 55-2019 and 103-2019. And in connection with that, there were certain plans prepared by the project engineer, High Point Engineering, by Chris Tartaglia. They are the civil engineers, and Chris is here with me today. Also here with me today, although I did see him, is Andrew here? Oh, there he is Andrew Villari from Stonefield Engineering. They are our traffic engineers and consultants. And the approvals I mentioned are what has produced the station that you see in front of you up on the screen today. You will note on the south side of the building, and this lot being somewhat unique in terms of Hempstead gas station sites due to its, frankly, its size, the lot itself is 38,336 square feet, or about 0.88 acres. That's a fairly large site for a station here in the town of Hempstead. Most stations somewhere being between 15 and 20,000 square feet. We have lot frontage on Hempstead Turnpike of almost 202 feet, and on Broad Street of 203.93, almost 204 feet. You'll notice on the south side of the building what appears to be a drive-through lane, and the applicant Bolo is able to configure the site to allow for site circulation, particularly for delivery trucks and refuse pickup. You'll notice in the southeast corner of the site we have the existing dumpster enclosure, and it allowed passenger trucks as well as the fuel tanker truck to enter the site, fuel up as the case may be, and not have to worry about deliveries, delivery trucks or garbage pickup for the convenience store. The gas station industry, frankly, is changing, particularly on the convenience component. There is a greater demand and growing demand for the drive-through component, and frankly, and perhaps unfortunately, I'll say, our current circumstance living with COVID has accelerated that, and that is the convenience store customer today wants the contactless experience. And frankly, this is a benefit not only for the applicant, but also, frankly, for the community as well. It allows for the contactless patronage and purchasing of convenience product, particularly in this instance from the Tim Hortons Cafe, which is a coffee offering through the drive-through window. In addition, it sort of mitigates to some degree the requirement for on-site parking, as you have a greater percentage of customers that will use the drive-through. The other great thing about this drive-through, again, if you look at that overhead aerial, is that the drive-through does not otherwise really interfere with or come into contact with the fuel pumps, which are along the Hempstead Turnpike frontage. The only time you may have a little bit of an issue is where the fuel tanker is fueling over on the east side. However, in speaking with the project engineer, Chris Tartaglia, and measuring out the site, there is more than sufficient pass-by room between the eastern curb line where the pump tanker would be and the eastern pumps for cars to exit from the drive-through queue. The site requires, the building itself requires really a de minimis modification to add the drive-through on the south side. There's a small 45 square foot addition which is proposed on the south side of the building, and in addition there will of course on the southwest corner of the building be the drive-through menu board, a couple of small directional signs directing people to where they need to enter the drive-through queue. There will also be a pass-by lane for those. There is sufficient room for the pass-by lane for those who perhaps mistakenly enter the drive-through queue or decide they do not want to utilize themselves of the drive-through, whereby they can exit that line and then exit out of the drive-through queue altogether. In addition, there is proposal for a Tim Hortons sign on the north facade of the building facing Hempstead Turnpike on the northeast corner, and then another wall sign on the west wall of the building. The applicant also has a ground sign or pylon sign at the northwest corner of the property, and there is a Tim Hortons sign which is proposed to be installed on that ground sign as well. That sign is approximately 21.35 square feet. That is in essence the application with me before you today. We are aware, and we've been told that this is actually, I believe, the first application that the town has entertained with regard to drive-through at the gas station. And frankly, there will be more in the future. I know we have a couple of other applications pending with the town where this is proposed as well, again, to help address community need as well as industry trends in the business. Now, if the board has any questions of myself, Mr. Tartaglio or Mr. Valari, we are happy to address them for you.
I got a couple for you.
Sure.
So right now, I'm going to enter your premise, and I'm going to be on the west-north, and that's a one-way in, right? And the east end is both ways in and out for traffic, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's say everyone has a hankering for Tim Hortons coffee. There's a big line, and you're going in the back, and I see the drive-through. If my only concern for you, it really is, take that down a little bit. That street right over there. What is that? Which road is that?
Broad Street?
Yeah, Broad Street. Is that where you would expect any sort of, is that where you'd start the line build up to go behind to do a drive-through?
You're talking about where the drive-through queue itself?
Yeah, where would it be? Just show me on the map. With the pointer, just point on this where the drive-through, the mechanism is going to be.
So you know what? I do not have my laser pointer. Chris, you have your laser?
You got that little pointer. Maybe you could help me.
That's actually great. Yeah, we have a color site rendering if we could pull that up. Keep going. There you go.
Okay.
So,
So on the site rendering.
on that a little bit more, that would be great.
Okay.
So right now, Mr. Supervisor, it's an excellent question. So the drive-through is built with a 6-car queue capacity, possibly a little longer. And it would start on the westerly side of the building, sort of adjacent to where you see parking spaces on the westerly side of the building.
Yep.
And what we're going to do, particularly as it relates to those parking spaces, is sort of limit those to employee parking. But you'll see the queue begins on that southwesterly portion of the site. And again, capacity for 6 cars. I'll note that in the traffic and queuing study that we submitted in advance of today's hearing, which is dated March 2nd, prepared by Stonefield Engineering, that in studying a similar Dunkin' Donuts type use in the town of Smithtown, Hapog area, the max queue ever observed even during peak time, which is the most important for assessing traffic issues, was 6 cars. So this is more than sufficient.
Yeah, no, that's why I was just trying to hit it in the position where it was going to be in the back, and then you got to go around. And is next door is the Wendy's, or is that the waterfall? Is it the waterfall? The waterfalls are next door now, but the Wendy's is 2 down. That has a drive-through there, right?
It does, and then we have a White Castle in the area that also.
Right around the bend. Okay, all right. Any board member have any question?
Yeah, I have 1 or 2 questions. Are you changing any of the curb cuts on the entrance on the state road or the town road?
No.
No alterations, nothing like that?
No. There will be no other changes to the site other than what I described, which is frankly, I don't want to use the word de minimis, but close to it.
And what would the hours of this so-called drive-through be? Do you have that limited? Is it limited to what you do at certain hours of the day?
So, it's a coffee donut offering. The property, as the board is aware, is situated really among pretty dense commercial. There's no residential on top of the site. In fact, the south portion of the building, or south facade where the drive-through is, actually faces a pretty substantial parking lot. If you go back to that aerial photograph, I think that's pretty helpful and sort of speaks volumes as to what's in the area. So if you zoom in just slightly on that aerial, there you go. You'll see to the immediate south is a huge parking lot. So we're not adjacent to any existing use. Directly across the street, you have, I think it was a former job lot building. The huge building, again, with heavy parking. And then you have both commercial east and then on the north side of Hempstead Turnpike. So Right now, the plan would be to keep it open 24/7, and it sort of makes sense given the complexion of the area.
Okay. And the air pump and the vacuum cleaners will not be changing location, right?
They remain where they are today, sir.
Perhaps I'm a little familiar with this location. All right. Any other questions of the board? All right, if you'd just hang around here. I know we have a number of residents who came on down today to speak. We will start with, I'll start with Rosalie Norton. Good morning, Ms. Norton. If you please give your name and address for the record.
Yes, Rosalie Norton, excuse me, 180 Buckingham Road in West Hempstead. This particular area, I think many of you may be aware of, has been in disarray or deteriorating conditions for some time. BOLA came in, and initially I wasn't too pleased about the idea of a gas station, but they certainly came in and made a big improvement on one very bad derelict piece of property. I'm here not to oppose it, just to hope that they continue with their good reputation and the way they are with the community, that they're going to respect what may be there. But I want to digress just a bit to say that all of you know what happened with the Courtesy Hotel when that came down. And we have a beautiful complex that now is there at West 130. The property around it, although they mentioned parking fields, hopefully very short time I could come before this board to support the Heatherwood project that is being planned for that area. It certainly will do a lot for taxes, for the community, and for certainly the area itself and the businesses around it. There are two projects I hope I could come and support in the future, and that would be the Heatherwoods as well as the Mill Creek Residential, which is another very vacant piece of property. I know I'm digressing, but I just am looking forward to come to support another project here for the town of Hempstead and for West Hempstead.
I appreciate
and hope you
Norton, I always do, and I will say, I would hope that the BOLA market have been pretty good neighbors over there, because the place is generally immaculate whenever I'm in there 5 days a week. So it always seems incredibly clean, and my kids love going in there. So it's I do know the location, and I think they have been good neighbors there. So it's nice to know that you feel that way.
Yes.
There really is. So thank you.
I really don't believe, because of my age, I'm going to be one of those not in my backyard. Yes, in my backyard, when it's going to be an asset to our community. So thank you for the opportunity of speaking, and thank you for the work that you do on behalf of our community.
Thank you, Ms. Norton. Always a pleasure.
Ms. Norton.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen you in a long time. We're happy to see you.
Next, I have Maureen Greenberg. Ms. Greenberg, if you just give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Sure. Maureen Greenberg, 408 Tyler Place in West Hempstead. I'm also here I'm actually supporting the cut-through for the BOLA to put through the drive-through. I'm a longtime resident of West Hempstead, and West Hempstead is in need of good businesses and good neighbors to help uplift the town. And so I'm also going to ride on Mrs. Norton's digression of the Heatherwood Luxury Apartments. We've been working with them a long time, and also hope to see them on a meeting application in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Greenberg. I do not have any other slips in relation to this hearing. If not, now we will go to the GoToWebinar portion of today's meeting.
Supervisor, no participant has clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, if that is all, Mr. Earlman, anything you want to finish up with?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, and thank you to Ms. Greenberg and Ms. Norton for their support. You know, it's nice to see your client recognized for the quality of the product that they put out there, and of course their community involvement. And as this board knows and has known for a long time, BOLA is and cares deeply about the communities in which it does business. And to the extent these folks want to reach out to the BOLA team when these other projects are queued up, please do so, because I know BOLA and its principal will be happy to support if it makes sense.
No, well, thank you very much. And all joking aside, seriously, you go by, it's beautifully maintained on a regular basis, and they do a great job. And it's nice to know that the residents there feel like they've been very good neighbors. That's reassuring. With that, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board accept this item.
Motion.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
I move to adopt.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye, and I have to say, I really like bowlers, especially your bathrooms.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Those marble bathrooms, yes. And Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Altman.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Supervisor, we just would like to remind the participants on GoToWebinar that the GoToWebinar platform will now be turned off now that we've finished the public hearings portion of the calendar, but we invite all of them to go over to the Town of Hempstead website and continue following the meeting on our live stream.
Great. Well done, Mr. Moderator. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please call the administrative calendar?
Yes, Supervisor, we have items 9 through 43 on the administrative calendar, 44 having been voted upon already. But we also have 3 items that are of an urgent or emergency nature. The first is entitled Resolution Adopting a Sub-Recipient Agreement between the Town of Hempstead and the Long Island Housing Partnership Incorporated to implement and administer the U.S. Department of Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The second is entitled Resolution Authorizing the Transfer of Monies Received by the Town of Hempstead through the COVID-19 Economic Relief Bill to fund emergency rental assistance expenses. And the third emergency resolution authorizes amendment to the 2021 adopted budget to increase general fund estimated revenues and increase the general fund appropriations, the creation of an expense account in the general fund undistributed organization titled Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and the creation of the Rent Relief Assistance Revenue Account in the Town of Hempstead General Fund Undistributed Organization. These 3 items will be added to the administrative calendar as items 45, 46, and 47.
Okay, just so anybody asks regarding the hand-up resolutions, this is federal funding that was received by the Town of Hempstead as well as other localities. The town was designated separate and apart from last year's CARES funding and the most recent distribution funding for rental assistance. We've teamed up with the Long Island Housing Partnership, a proven entity, to utilize these funds, and they will help basically run the program and distribute the funds to those who are applying, and is really of an emergency nature because people really need the relief. With that, does any member of the board wish to be heard on anything on this administrative calendar? Okay, if not, any members of the public want to be heard on the administrative calendar? I have one slip in right now. I have Ms. Campbell. Ms. Campbell? No. Okay. Anybody else here want to be heard on the administrative calendar? Okay, if not, may I please have a motion on the administrative calendar?
I move that we move the administrative calendar 9 through 47.
With the exception of 44.
With the exception of 44, yes.
Second.
Of course.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Aye. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Oops, I
Second.
did first. You already-
Supervisor Clavin.
I vote aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
And Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, now that the formal town board meeting has been adjourned, the town board will remain to listen to comments of the residents. We have a number of slips in here today, and we'll start off with Felix Bercacci. Good afternoon, Mr. Bercacci. If you give me name and address for the record.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. Has the Ethics Board met yet?
The answer to that question is no. They'll be meeting sometime this week.
Is there a date for the next meeting?
I'm not certain, but it will be this week.
It'll be this week, okay. At a prior meeting, Supervisor Clavin mentioned that the town had not raised taxes in 3 years. I just want to correct that. This year, we did have a tax increase for certain water districts. It was $100 a year. I mean, you could call it whatever you want. I understand the need for that.
No, you don't have to call it anything. It was no
but
tax increase. Mr. Procacci, just want to stand corrected. There were no tax increase in the last 3 years. In fact, this board working together in a bipartisan fashion cut taxes. So please don't misrepresent things. Thank you.
$25 additional each residents are paying for water is a tax. But anyway, I just want to also clarify another thing about the tax freeze that we implemented for 2021. All tax freezes aren't created equal. I like to remind you of this is a flyer from you and former Supervisor Murray in 2016 budget where you froze taxes, and shortly after that, the town got its third downgrade from Moody's.
Okay, Bill, maybe you're not aware, last year we got a upgrade, AA.
No, I
You must be happy about that.
But they didn't have federal CARES money. That's how you
Actually, the audit actually said that that was just one minor factor, was the conservative budget. No, I just want to let you know, that's good news. I know you're happy about that.
I understand, but you should when you.
And thank you very much to the town board and John Mastromarino.
Yeah, when you start, and stop interrupting me, please. You have your time to talk infinitely. I have 3 minutes, okay? So also you didn't mention when you froze taxes, you should also append that you also took $19 million, according to Mr. Mastromarino's numbers, in reserves to make that tax freeze happen. Put them together. Don't just separate them, because it's very important to do that.
I appreciate you acknowledging the tax freeze.
Yeah, and the $19 million in deficit.
Would
you stop interrupting me? Please. Constantly. You can't. You got infinite time. I got 3 damn minutes. Would you please stop interrupting me? I want to have my thoughts.
You'll still
No,
have
you keep on running the clock on me.
No, but we have to correct the record.
You can keep. You have after I walk back to my seat. You will correct the record.
The town of Hempstead, I believe, for any municipality its size, keeps a greater percentage of reserves than most, if not all, of the other municipalities in the state. And we did that because we were able to project that the economy could take a downturn, there could be a pandemic, there could be a problem. So that was really prudent budgeting and a very fiscally conservative budget. Now, I didn't waste any of your time, Felix. Go ahead.
That was what was said in 2014. That was what was said in 2015. That was what was said in 2016 when the town got downgraded 3 consecutive times. You always could have a bump, and the one factor is a big factor that they considered $68 million of reserves, which you should be spending on people in need.
No, Felix, we actually received a positive outlook before the pandemic. So to say that the reason why we received the upgrade was because of the CARES money is not true, and you know that, Felix.
After I sit down, you can talk forever, and you can make up anything you want, and you will. But you separate the facts. You say the part that may not be a lie, but you don't tell the whole truth. And that's part of the problem with this town board.
Thank you, Mr. Procacci. Have a nice day. Next, we're going to invite Diane Madden. Good afternoon, Ms. Madden. Name and address for the record.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. In Baldwin, about a week ago, puppies were seized from a puppy store. 3 had died. The SPCA showed up. Shortly later, a town of Hempstead animal shelter van showed up, knowing that sick puppies that were exposed to this illness, would be loaded on that van. What Mike Pistori loaded on that van before these puppies were picked up was a healthy dog. I ask you, Supervisor Clavin, to keep your word. This is Michael Pastori, under the guidance of the commissioner who you promised to remove from the animal shelter. And I did not get a call back from the animal shelter as to the condition of that dog, the healthy one that was loaded on the van. I'd appreciate if someone could look into that. Case number is 1282. Your self-proclaimed animal behaviorist has been personally sued. If you've seen that lawsuit, it is quite eye-opening. Again, you've done nothing, Supervisor Clavin, to rectify the problems which have caused extensive injury to unknowing and innocent people. Based on the allegations in that personal lawsuit and the timing of internal investigations, the previous town attorney and his deputy attorney should be disbarred. You should take a look at that lawsuit. You should take a look at those internal investigations. You can count up the injuries of people, including CSEA staff that have been hurt, the cost to the taxpayers in lawsuits, and make a decision if you're going to keep your word on your previous campaign promises. Once again, I'll take the opportunity to ask the town board if the CARES Act federal COVID money is being used to pay employees to stay home. Once again, I'll ask the board to bring in an outside diversity consultant to oversee the hiring practices that have discriminated and don't reflect the faces of the residents of Hempstead. Once again, I'll ask you to offer virtual comment on these board meetings so that people can call in with any concerns if they're unable to attend the meetings. You have, I believe, Councilman D'Esposito is throughout this meeting. The public should be equally given the same opportunity. I ask you that you offer the public an opt-out and stop the wasteful reproduction of material that can be done through email, and legislation that will stop and prevent and hold responsible any contractor, who
You have a good day.
lies
Next, we
throughout
have a Ron
hiring
Whitfield.
process. Thank you.
Mr. Whitfield.
Excuse me?
Give a second, Mr. Whitfield. We're going to wipe down just for the COVID
You might want to
precautions
look
for a
at that
second.
legislation
Thank
again.
you so
and
much.
Take a look at the lawsuit, Supervisor.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Mr. Whitfield? Good afternoon, sir. If we could have your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Ron Whitfield.
Hi.
I live in Uniondale. I'm here with a few things that I wanted to talk to you about the problems that we're having. The houses in our community have doubled and sometimes tripled in size. They are loaded now with college students. We have contacted the town before regarding this matter. The parking on the street is horrendous. The blocking of driveways is horrendous. Recently, my wife had to go in an emergency. The driveway was blocked. We had the ambulance people, fire department, had to walk a half a block with her because of the parking. There shouldn't be any parking in these areas based on the fact that they have the houses that has tripled in size, they have built parking lots behind the house, okay, in each one of them. And it's a party there. The noise, starting at 5 o'clock in the morning, the traffic comes through 60 and 70 miles an hour. The noise is unbelievable. For the last few weekends, we can't even get any sleep because of the noise. They're racing with these loud mufflers, they parties, etc. So all we're asking for is the possibility of no parking after 8 p.m. on the street. Everybody has a driveway, okay? And all we're asking for right now is to cut out all of the parking. They park all up in, and last but not least, a lot of these young kids are parking vehicles on the block with no plates, no inspections. Some of them have been there for over a year. We've contacted the police time and time again, and there's a problem in this area. I say, you got that right. It is a problem in this area. All of these cars, if they ever go down the block, and I haven't seen a cop patrol the area, and I don't know how long, okay? I see them, I live just west of Hofstra, and I see them come down Hempstead Turnpike. However, they never patrol the block. So what we're asking for is, let's see here. There is
I'm going to let Councilwoman Gooseby want to respond first or ask you a couple of questions.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for letting us know. I'm very happy that you're here, and what I'd like for you to do, all the things that you're saying are so important, but you would please just write it up, and if you have the problem sometimes with people building in the backyard, that unless they have a permit, they should not be doing that. Okay, but we don't know it, so if you let us know, just call the office or let me know. We'll have somebody come and take care of that. We can do it. I know there's a lot of people living in these homes, many more than should be living in them. And unless we can let the police know, and they do work very well with us, especially Precinct 1, they do. Anytime I let them know something has happened that's illegal, they have come and taken care of it, even though I have to write something to let them know it's there so that they can do it. So if you would help us with that, area, it would be most helpful. And if you let us know the homes that are overcrowded, because they are, I have the same thing where I live. There are at least 10 people living in that house, and you can't go in there, so home, we can't go in unless we are with someone who, like somebody has a fire or something like that, we can go. Am I right? Okay, so that's how, you can't go into a personal home just like I can knock on your door. If you don't open your door, I cannot enter. And that's a problem that we have. But with your help and letting us know, we could do a bit better. It would be very helpful to us. If there are cars that are parked there without license plates, we'll be able to help with that. Okay, but just let us know, because we don't have enough people to really go around the whole community and find it, because it's really getting bad. So that's how we can work together, like the little 7-year-old girl. She saw problems in her neighborhood. She let us know. She wrote a letter to the supervisor. And so we were able to take care of it. That's working together. We can do a better job for you. So anything that you have on your sheet, I know we may have it taped, but I don't know all of it. I know the supervisor's writing some of it down. If you would help us with that, we'll be able to help you. Working together, we can do a better job.
As the councilwoman said, part of it is, if you could stick around for a couple minutes, I'm going to ask somebody to get your street information and everything. Part of it is enforcement by the Nassau County Police Department, which we don't control. But when it comes to if somebody's doing something in their backyard, built a structure, some of that, you got to give us the address. We're happy to work with it. We want, every community to, people enjoy living in there. Bishop Ingram.
Mr. Supervisor, can I just say something as a general proposition? Every community has experienced this problem, whether it's in your community or some other community. We have problems with Airbnb. We have problems with overcrowding in houses. We have problems with parties. People rent out their homes for parties. And we send out our town inspectors, and our town inspectors do a good job. They write the summonses and everything else, but what happens is they get 10 or 12 summonses, they go to the district court, and they plea bargain them down to almost nothing, so it's just the cost of doing business. So one of the things that the town board is discussing now is whether or not it makes any sense to ask the state whether we could have a town court, so we would have a local court that would enforce the laws that are already on the books that need to be enforced. So if we could get your support and your neighbors, if we decide to move forward with the town court, that would be very helpful, and I think that would go a long way in solving the problem.
Absolutely. But like I said, Bishop Ingram, if you have a couple of minutes, we ruined the back. If you go back there, I just want to get the addresses, and in particular, I want to get your street name and some the relevant information so we can follow up. You know, and look, the park in the driveway. Look, it's unexcusable, but you know, maybe we can work with the legislator there. It's probably Kavan. And we'll work with them. And then also, a lot of that's also police enforcement. So it's about working together. So if you can kind of go to the back room and share the information of the addresses and the streets, I would really be appreciative. Okay?
And thank you for letting us know.
Thank you for coming in today.
We appreciate you letting us know. He's going to the back room, sir.
Jerry, is the back room open? It is? Yeah, just make sure. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jim Vithia? Did I get it right? All right, here we go. All right. How you doing, Mr. Vithia? How are you today?
Good morning.
If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Jim Bethia, I'm in Uniondale, New York. My problem is similar, the same as Mr.
I couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear you, sir. What did you say?
Uniondale, New York.
Okay. Your name?
Jim Bethia.
Oh, okay. That sounds like one of my classmates' names from way back.
Oh, sorry. I'm glad to hear that. My problem is similar, the same as Mr. Whitfield, slightly a little curve in it. We have some young man who believes that he can sell cars, I guess, from the block.
Whoa.
So what he has, a number of cars, I say about 7 or 9 cars parked on the block with different state license plates, Alabama, Pennsylvania, you name it. And they parked in one spot and they leave them there for 30 days or so. So last week, my wife and I called Nassau County Police to tell them that, to ask them if they could get the car moved. They said, no, as long as it's parked legally on the curb, there's nothing they can do, so you have to go to the town and see if they can do something about it. But the experience is that he moves the car from one point to another on the same street. But we know for a fact that he's obviously selling cars on the block. And I just want to try and get that settled so that we don't have this sort of defacement on the block. The other situation is that on my street, in the mornings between 8:30 and 10:30, 11 o'clock, we have speeders because they come through from Hempstead Turnpike, cutting through, and so they speed through very rapidly. And I think that's very dangerous because there are a lot of kids there during that time going to school. So the police department said I needed to come to speak to you guys in reference to try and resolve it. So I heard what Mrs. Gooseby said, and I guess the same thing applies to me. But I need to try and get this settled because we need to get those cars moved and the speeders.
No, absolutely. If you stick around for a couple minutes, you know, I'll have Bishop Ingram get the street address for the speeders, and we will reach out to the police and also your county legislator, because maybe he can have a little more influence with the police department about putting, you know, some stationed patrol officers there to maybe ticket and influence it. But I will also follow up with you about the car sales. You know, if somebody's doing that, I'll talk to the town attorney. But if you just give Bishop Ingram a couple minutes, and then you could switch up so we can get all the relevant information from you, that would be awesome. Okay. All right? Thank you very much for coming down today.
Thank you. And thank you so much for letting us know.
Next, I have Barbara Hafner. Good afternoon. If you just give your name and address for the record.
I think it's still morning. Good morning. I'm Barbara Hafner, West Hempstead. I'm standing here for a few questions, but I want to start off with my support for the development of 111 Hempstead Turnpike, formerly the location of Wholesale Liquidators. The residents of West Hempstead have attended outdoor meetings over the summer hosted by the Cathedral Civic Association and the West Hempstead Community Support Association. These meetings were well attended, and many questions were asked and addressed by the association as well as the Heatherwood development. This development would bring a much-needed enhancement of this property as well as our community. We hope you will do the same when permits for this development are brought forth to you. One of my questions is, do you anticipate any reason why this board might prevent the development of this property?
We can't answer that. We don't have anything in front of us.
Okay. So I have a couple questions about what I was hearing today. And who is responsible for notifying residents regarding rezoning hearings?
The applicant does so, and they provide proof that they provided proper notice and file it with the clerk's office.
Okay.
And in my area, I ask that they bring a list. I have to have a list of the people who actually was served, because that way you can check to see who was served and who was not.
Okay.
So I would advise you, of all the people that are supporting you, if you have them sign in when they come, that would be a great, good for you.
Okay, and then Councilman Blakeman mentioned a town court. Do you have details about that, what the cost would be? The judges, would they be elected or appointed? How does that work?
Well, right now, Councilman, did you want to answer that?
We're just at the investigatory stage now, and as I said, it's something that we're exploring. But the preliminary analysis and looking at what other townships have done, Huntington recently moved to a town court. Actually, it was a positive generator of revenue, because now people were being fined for what they did, and they're not getting away with, $100 fine for $10,000, in fines that they should have received. So it actually is positive revenue for some of the other municipalities, and we would assume that it would be the same here, that it would not cost the taxpayers anything.
Okay, because honestly, before we go to a town court, I am hoping that we will consider the taking over of the New York American Water Company. That is a major ripoff for me as one of the consumers of that water.
By the way, I don't know if you know, when we supported Senator Kaminsky came forth and said there could be availability of state funds to do that, and we were supportive of that. We're hoping Senator Kaminsky will follow through and get those funds, and we're in agreement with you on that. So we all stay united on that one. It made sense when the senator came forth and made that proclamation. All of us stood together and said, "Great." You're talking about $700 million. The state is the entity with those resources. And you know what? So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll follow up with the state senator on that. So thank you.
Great. And then my last question has to do with where do we find out the status of permits? For example, I have Pompeii that's in West Hempstead that's changed over from a restaurant to a house of worship. What is the status of those permits? Mr. Muscarella, maybe as a resident
Joe.
and council person, you might know.
Tommy?
Perhaps I should answer the question for you. The permits are things that are readily obtainable. They're public documents that you could obtain from the building department.
So if I ask the building department, I could get an updated status of those permits?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next I have Stu Kroll. Afternoon, Mr. Kroll, if you give your name and address for the record.
Stu Kroll, Great Neck. This past week, 11 dogs were seized from a boarded-up pet store in Baldwin. These dogs all came from puppy mills, were bred continually, and were in urgent need of medical care. They were seized by Gary Rogers and sent to the vet. The assemblywoman from Baldwin is Judy Griffin. She issued no statement condemning this atrocity. There was no middle ground or ignoring this. I heard from her aide within the hour, and they're going to do a survey on this item to see what people think. So I guess we decide right or wrong now based on surveys. Our page has thousands of followers who have now been informed and will be informed again of her indifference to animal abuse. Mr. Carini, I believe this is your location in Baldwin. I think some sort of a statement condemning this abuse, would be reasonable. Mr. Blakeman, I remember you said at some point that you didn't want to hurt the owners of these pet stores. In California, many pet stores have thrived even if they were banned by law from selling puppies and kittens. There are no good pet store owners. Our invoices confirm that they are all buying from abusive puppy mills. While I realize this board can't comment on...
No, I also said, Mr. Kroll, that I am a big supporter of rescue dogs.
Yes, I remember that.
My son recently rescued a dog, and it is the most wonderful dog, and I actually really support people who go and get rescue dogs. They're great dogs, and I certainly prefer they were to do that, but I don't want to be the arbiter of what type of businesses there should be in the town of Hempstead concerning whether or not you can sell puppies or not.
Well, the problem is that these dogs are basically bred until they can no longer be bred, and then they're killed. So, I mean, I don't think somebody needs to make their living off that. I can comment on pending litigation while you can't. The woman who was injured suffered horrific injuries due to a dog being given to someone when, due to its background of abuse, a matter of public record, it shouldn't have been. The woman who made this decision was clearly the lesser choice of the two female applicants for the job of trainer. The more qualified applicant asked for 40% less money than the second one actually received. The first applicant had all of her licensed required credentials rather than the second one who lied about most of her credentials. This was a tragic occurrence for the woman who was so severely injured. Let's see. Mr. Clavin, kitten season is now beginning. It promises to be a horrific one due to the complete lack of help from the town of Hempstead. The fixing of 15 cats per week, and if that's been increased, then you can certainly let me know and I'll be corrected. At the shelter, plus the additional few fixed at Central Vet is beyond pathetic. I hate to be redundant, but I have no choice as you continue to let suffering occur with the phony excuse of your great concern for the safety of your employees. All About Cats in Freeport is very concerned for their employees' safety, yet they have managed to fix hundreds of cats monthly since the summer. The ASPCA in Queens and the town of North Hempstead have managed to ramp up their programs as well. They are not compromising employee safety. They are taking precautions and staying healthy. How can you have a fundraiser for 200 people when the state limit was 50 and pretend to be worried about employees? Numerous pictures with no masks or social distancing. If you want to blame lack of volunteers allowed at the shelter and the pathetic number of cats fixed when there was little human contact involved on the town doctor, I would like to ask him what he thinks about your blatant disregard for the law and safety protocols. In the meantime, very little money is being spent at the shelter, all going back into the general fund. How much money has been spent on...
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. And just so you know, it has been over 15 cats. Next, I have a Maria Angel. Good afternoon, Ms. Angel. If you give your name and address for the record.
Lucia Engels, Oceanside, New York. I've been here for almost, actually, it's my 14th time or 15th time here. About 14 months ago, my cat was seized illegally and put up for adoption. I have obtained FOIL documents and produced them to the entire town board, to each and every one of you. I emailed them. And I've heard nothing from any one of you.
Ms. Angel, hold on. I will stop the clock. Actually, it's just not the case. Actually, you've spoken with attorneys here. You've spoken with numerous people. It's the town's position. We've never had your cat. We've explained this to you, and I understand. But please, I know personally you have spoken with attorneys here. You've spoken with staff members. So my comment is, we've done our due diligence here. It's the town of Hempstead's position.
Yes.
We never had the cat, and that's the only thing I do want you to understand. But we did take the time to sit with you and explain things to you, and I know my counsel even sat down with you. But I'm just letting you know, it's the town's position, based on its looking into it, looking at its research, that we never had your cat.
With all due respect, I know you haven't had the cat. I know that. So it's the same red herring you argued last time. I don't have the cat. The Esposito doesn't have your cat. I mean, I don't need red herrings like that. I know the argument. I, through FOIL documents, provided you with proof that she was in fact adopted at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter in Wanta. So you cannot say that FOIL documents are lying. You can continue to say that you haven't had it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the town of Hempstead was instrumental in her adoption there. And because I obtained these FOIL documents, you cannot just say that. So last time I came here, you said that to get an attorney. So in the United States, criminals can represent themselves, and if they can represent themselves, so can victims represent themselves. So I am my attorney. I will act as my attorney, and let's meet with Mr. Pastore so he can give me an answer as to those FOIL documents that confirm that she was actually adopted there.
As I said, it's the town's position. We never had the cat, and you could seek
Oh,
whatever
no, don't
recourse
say,
you want.
I don't want red herrings.
Okay.
I know you never had it. I know that the board members never had it. The point is the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter produced somehow FOIL documents that confirmed that she was adopted there. Allow me, you said to get an attorney, so.
No, I just told you you could sue, you could pursue any action you want. I didn't say you had to get an attorney.
What happened? This went dead? Okay. The microphone went dead?
You pursue whatever recourse you want. That's what I said. The town's position is that we've never had your cat.
Okay, which is a lie. Because if FOIL documents confirm otherwise, you cannot have that position. It's dishonest to have that position. You cannot say that. You cannot say that FOIL documents are lying. Well, what's wrong with
Okay,
with you
thank
doing
you
the
very
right
much. Next, we have a Marcia Dietreri. Okay. Hi, good afternoon. If you just give me name and address for the record.
Marcia D. Thierry. Can I take my mask off or no?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Marcia D. Thierry, Lee Avenue, Merrick, New York. I am here once again inquiring about the overdue revision on tree preservation in the town of Hempstead. In just the last week, I've observed more than 6 different occurrences of healthy trees being cut down in my neighborhood. Information was given to Tricia in your legal office. I haven't heard back from her. I'm also presenting them to you today in this documentation as evidence of this out-of-control destruction. Spring is here, removing the only shelters that wildlife depend on are being massacred. If I'm seeing this, I can't imagine how many more trees are being killed. I've tried speaking with neighbors and giving them documentation about the importance of tree preservation to no avail. Only laws will stop this. Wouldn't it be nice to be known by constituents as someone, I can't even see, that is pro-environment with stricter laws? I'm sure I'm not alone when I say my rights for a clean, healthy environment are being taken away. Noise pollution from gas leaf blowers and the sound of chainsaws removing our only noise pollution and buffers. Please, it's been way too long. So I was wondering if Tricia spoke with you about enacting any tree preservation. She said she was going to.
Ms. Moriartis has, brought forth your recommendations. In addition, I know that there was a grant process for tree planting that I think they were successfully applied for and received.
There was also something I was suggesting. Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry. I am suggesting that the town promote low or no cost tree trimming services to residents to help preserve and keep mature tree healthy instead of residents cutting them down at the word of landscapers, and also bring back the tree planting service at no cost to seniors and low cost to others. That would promote environmental.
Okay. Take that under advisement. In addition, I think Ms. Morales actually said she did email you a response.
I haven't heard from her in weeks, and the last thing she said was she was waiting for the right time to speak with you.
Okay. Like I said, I'll follow up, but it was indicated that actually she has an email that she responded to you. But we'll reach out and have her follow up again.
Yeah, that would be good. The time is now. And these are the addresses of all the mature trees that were cut down just in my neighborhood in the last week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, as I don't have any other slips, I will tell everybody have a wonderful afternoon and stay safe. Thank you all very, very much.